Thank you for joining us for part 3 of this 3-part series. Part 1 was talking about motorcycle tie downs, part 2, loading ramps, and this episode, how to properly load and tie down your motorcycle.
Hello, I'm Bradshaw and welcome to the channel. This is part 3 of a 3-part series. We're talking about tie downs, ramps, and how to effectively load and unload your motorcycle. Now I want to start with the premise that say you went to Mountain Motorsports or any other dealership for that matter and purchased a brand new motorcycle. They were nice enough to load it into the bed of your truck. But now you get home and you're walking up to the back of the truck and you're like, oh my goodness, how am I possibly going to unload this thing out of the bed of my truck? Now today I'm going to show you some very easy things to do in order to make this process a lot simpler than it appears at face value. We're going to keep the bike in first gear, we're going to use the clutch as our brake, and I'll explain some of that here in just a little minute. But before we do that, let's jump into the truck and take a look at how this motorcycle was tied down so we can take a look at some of the things that we talked about in the previous episodes. The first thing we want to do is make sure that the ramps that we have are the proper ramps for the application and that they are attached to the truck so they don't slip out when you start to unload your vehicle. Now climbing up into the bed of the truck, we're going to notice a couple things, or I want you to pay attention to a couple things. Number one, we have 2 different tie downs. We have one that comes up to the lower triple clamp and we have another that comes up to the handlebar. That's going to give us 2 points of tie down contact so that if one strap were to fail, you'd have security on the other one. Another thing I want to point out is these truck bed rings aren't necessarily rated for the full weight of your motorcycle. So the main tie down that I come up to the lower triple clamp with here comes down and attaches to the actual frame of the truck itself. That's going to give me a super strong attachment point that is not going to break free. I have actually had the misfortune of a tie down ring actually pulling out while transporting a motorcycle, but that secondary strap allowed me to have safety and the bike didn't fall over. And as you can see, the soft tie comes up, it's not going to mar any surfaces, and it allows the actual mechanism to stay far enough away from the vehicle that you're not going to have any accidental contact. Now the first thing I do when I want to unload a motorcycle out of the bed of the truck is I'm going to deploy the kickstand if I can. That's going to allow me to loosen up the straps on this side of the bike, and then the bike will automatically lean over onto the side stand and not accidentally fall over in the truck. I'm then going to remove the first tie down, loosen it just enough in order to undo the soft tie and pull it out. Same thing down here with the second one. Go ahead and get it unwrapped. Now the reason that I wrap right here below the mechanism is just in case somehow this started to fail and started to loosen while driving. This being wrapped and tied around here wouldn't be able to slip through that hole, allowing the bike to maintain security even if this little mechanism here was failing. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen this strap up. The bike is going to fall over onto that side stand. And that's going to allow it to maintain stability as we take the rest of the tie downs off. Now on this side over here, because we have slack now, all we really have to do is remove the soft ties from the bike. So now we have all of our cameras rolling, and we're going to show the removal of this bike or the unloading of this bike out of the truck. Again, I've got cameras set up here for the clutch and the brake actuation. And then down here, we're going to keep the bike in first gear. So double check right now. Yes, the bike's in first gear. Yes, our ramps are securely attached to the truck. Now we can begin the dismount. Now you're going to want to make sure that you put the kickstand up, because that kickstand will hang up on the bed and cause a very interesting scenario if you don't do that. Now the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull in my clutch. That's going to allow the bike to be able to roll freely backwards. Now the reason that I'm doing this is the fact that I can let the clutch go and the bike will stop and not roll backwards any further. If you have the bike in neutral and you're using just the front brake in order to get this thing down the ramp, it can be extremely scary. If you happen to have to put the front brake on, it's either going to slide on the bed liner itself, or it's actually going to pull the bed liner mat out of the truck and you're going to have 0 braking power on the way down. So now I'm going to go ahead and just use my clutch, and I'm going to feather it nicely as we're coming down the ramp. And again, even at this level here, you can take your hand off the clutch and the bike is going to stay stopped, and it's not going to roll until you pull the clutch in and bring it down to a nice secure spot here at the bottom. Now the one thing I want to point out here is we're not going to be revving the motor and speeding up the ramp. It's going to be a very controlled action with the clutch as we roll up the ramp. Now the secondary ramp here again is for my feet, so I can let the clutch out slowly, bring the bike up into the truck, and walk up this secondary ramp. So if your bike's cold-blooded or isn't fuel injected, you want to make sure you get that choke on so it doesn't die as you're going up into the truck. So go ahead and set choke on this guy, turn the key into the on position, and then we're going to go ahead and fire it up. Now again, our goal here isn't to fly into the bed of the truck, it's to maintain a nice constant momentum as you walk up the ramp with the motorcycle. So I've got my clutch engaged over here, and I'm going to feather the clutch out slowly as we go up the ramp. This is what it should look like. That's it. Hit the kill switch. Put your side stand down, and that's it. You're done. Now it's time to get the bike tied down appropriately, like we've shown in all the other pieces of this video. And there you go, guys. That's just a quick tutorial, or my way of loading and unloading a big motorcycle in and out of the bed of a pickup truck. I hope you've enjoyed this three-part series. We talked about tie downs, we talked about ramps, and we've talked about the loading and unloading of your bike. Thank you to all the Patreons who support the channel and who allow these videos to continue to happen. And a big shout out to Mountain Motorsports for allowing me to come down and to make these videos using their products, parts, and accessories. I'm Kyle Bradshaw. If you like what you saw today, please give it a thumbs up. If you want more action like this coming directly at your inbox, please hit that subscribe button and, more importantly, the notification bell. Until next time, and as always, take care and ride safe out there.